Hey everybody, welcome back to Surrounding the Dragon. I'm Dr. Sara, and today we're talking about the yin and yang of pain and performance. Yes, I'm psyched about this one. This will give us a little bit of a universal, energetic insight into the kind of things you're doing in the gym and the kind of things you're doing for recovery, and maybe a little insight on how you can start dealing with some of your nagging symptoms like pain, stress, tension, anxiety. I'm hoping this will shine a little bit of light on the energetic aspects of what you're doing and hopefully inspire you to change it up a little bit. So let's go. So let's start with yin and yang, this ancient philosophy that's been around for thousands of years. And you're probably familiar with that Tai Chi yin and yang symbol, right? That circle with the squiggly line down the middle. We have one side as a light side, the other side is a dark side. And within either of those halves, there's a small circle of the opposing color, right? So on that light side of the circle, you're going to see a small, dark colored circle. And on the dark side of the circle, you're going to see a small light circle within it, right? So you're probably familiar with that. But I want to talk a little bit more about what it is, what it means, and how it applies to pretty much everything that we do in nature, in life, in our health, in our bodies. And it's more applicable than you think. It's not just this really cool symbol that you might see floating around in logos or wherever else you're coming across this symbol. There's actually universal use to this philosophy of yin and yang, and it's thousands and thousands of years old. And what it is, it's a representation, and it is a display of polarity. It is equally opposing energies that complement each other to maintain balance, right? Yin and yang. So think sun and moon, daytime, nighttime. Think of action and rest. I have my notes here that I'm looking down at, right? We have damp and dry. We have masculine and feminine. Now, before we go too far down that road, know that when I say masculine and feminine, I am not talking at all about gender. Masculine and feminine are two attributes that every single human being has. Everybody has masculine and feminine traits. So please know that when we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, we're talking just that, energy. We're not talking about gender. Everybody has both. Where masculine, being the yang, would be things like outward expression, action, right? Expansiveness. The yin, or the feminine, would be more about receiving and going within, right? It's introspective. It is recovery, right? It is healing. It is creation. And we see yin and yang, these opposing ends of whatever spectrum we're talking about, throughout nature. We see it in nature. We see it in our bodies. We see it really in the way that we interact with each other. It is yin, it is yang, it is everywhere and nowhere. It is physical, tangible structure, and it is the space between structure, right? Where the yang is this physical, tangible thing, and the yin is the space between these structures. It is both. It is everywhere, it is nowhere, all at the same time. Right? And getting back to that circle, right? That image of the circle with the two smaller circles embedded on either side, it shows that we can't ever have one without the other. It's always both. It's never either or. It's both, always. It's just a matter of wherever we're falling at any given moment, we're going to be a little bit more dominant in one or the other. Right? There are times during our day, right? And the daytime is the yang time of day. The sun is out. It is light. It's time for outward expression. It's time for action. But then it gets dark out, right? The sun sets. We get to see the moon. That's where everything slows down. Everyone retreats and recovers back into their homes, right? Everyone comes back inward. This is where we go to sleep and we rest. That is a yin time of day. So it is this beautiful flow from one to the other. At least it should be this beautiful flow of one into the other and back again. And the way that this shows up in the body, there's a lot of ways that this shows up in the body. But the one example that I'm going to use here today is all about the autonomic nervous system. I think it is the most obvious display of yin and yang that I can use here. The autonomic nervous system. So for those of you who are not familiar with what that is, the autonomic nervous system is the little segment of our nervous system that automatically runs all of our systems and structures and functions without us having to think about it. So think about things like respiration, digestion, circulation, right? We don't have to put any conscious energy or effort into those systems working. Our automatic functions are running in the background constantly. And there's two segments of this part of the nervous system. And for those of you who, again, maybe aren't familiar with this terminology, you might know them best as fight or flight or rest and digest. This is what we're talking about. Fight or flight, rest and digest. So we have fight or flight. This is our stress response. This is our action mode. This is our warrior mode. This is survival. Our nervous systems are hardwired to keep us safe and alive. And if we're not able to get in that sympathetic fight or flight action mode, warrior mode, well, then our safety and our life becomes threatened. It's a little morbid there, right? But the way that we act when we're in action mode, when we're working out in the gym, when we're giving presentations at work, whenever we're in action mode, we are operating in a dominant state within the sympathetic part of our nervous system, the fight or flight. Now, the opposite of that is when we switch into this parasympathetic rest and digest. This is the part where the body just starts to naturally repair itself with its guard down in this quiet, restful, meditative-like state. This is where recovery happens. This is where healing happens, in this yin, relaxed, inward type of conscious state. So at any given moment throughout the day, we're going to be more dominant in one of these parts of our nervous system than the other. The problem, though, sometimes is we get stuck in one or the other, and we just kind of get stuck in a loop. The majority of people that I see here in my clinic get stuck in this stress loop. They get stuck in the sympathetic fight or flight, like they can't turn their mind off. They can't turn off of go mode because they spend so much time there, and they've kind of wired themselves and pushed themselves to always, grind, go mode, warrior mode. And so trying to maintain this warrior mode, this survival mode at all times, that's where people start to get into trouble, because that state of being is not meant for longevity, right? We need a break every once in a while. We need to flow out of fight or flight and get into rest and digest to recover, to balance our efforts out. But so often, so many times, people get stuck in this sympathetic fight or flight state where they end up getting injured. They end up, with chronic tension that they can't get rid of. They have racing minds. It shows up like with anxiety, and like they just can't quiet their mind. They're exhausted, and it's really hard for them to break that pattern and get into that restful state for whatever reason. There's a lot of reasons, but it's important to know, if you listen to that episode that I did on alignment, right? We have to align our actions and our behaviors with what we're trying to accomplish, right? So we want to be operating in fight or flight if our task ahead of us is to get to the gym, to get a good workout in. We don't want to be in this yin meditative state if we're, stepping into a deadlift bar. You know what I mean? Like, we got to align our nervous systems with what we're trying to accomplish. But the same is true too when we talk about recovery. So in order to recover, again, we want to pull our energy back in. We want to get into a dominant state of parasympathetic, of rest and digest. This is where healing happens. This is where recovery happens. So we have to be able to switch from yang to yin, and then to rev it back up and go from yin to yang. It's that flexibility between these two, right? We need both. If all you do is perform and go hard and lift and lift and lift, but you don't take time for the yin recovery activities, well, your body's going to start breaking down because you're not going to be able to keep up. You're going to get injuries, you're going to have stress, you're going to have tension, all the things I mentioned before. So if you're having those things, right? If you're already experiencing anxiety, racing thoughts, lack of sleep, like injuries, pain, all the things, and you're not making time for these yin recovery activities, well, now you know what to do. You know how to balance yourself out. And here's the other thing too. Sometimes people will find themselves in trouble because they do all the yin activities. Like, for example, I see this a lot. People will get in their Normatec compression systems, which I have here and I love, and they're great. And I have my red lights too. And they're really great recovery modalities. But I've observed people get into these, the boots, or, engage in some type of yin activity, but they're allowing themselves to stay in a yang state of consciousness, in that sympathetic state, by looking at their phones, by, getting on their computer, or like engaging outwardly. So all they're getting is, let's say, just blood circulation, which is great. Like, yes, we need blood circulation for recovery, but healing happens when you pull your energy back into your body rather than going out. So when your brain is stimulated by looking at your phone or listening to music, or like having your energy go outward, you're still in a yang state of consciousness. You're still in that fight or flight mode. So if you're someone that's doing all these yin type of activities, but you're not allowing yourself to reach a yin state of consciousness, that rested, meditative inward energy, then ask yourself, are you actually recovering? Right? Your body will tell you if you are or not. Because if you're doing all those things and you're still having pain, you're still exhausted, you're still not sleeping through the night, well, take that as a cue that maybe you're not as flexible as you think between your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous systems, your yang and your yin. Because ideally, we want to have that circle, that Tai Chi circle, we want to go all the way around. We want it to keep moving. We want it to be a nice, fluid, constant flow of balance between the two. So certain parts of the day, you're a little bit more yang. And as the night comes down, you're getting out of your yang and into your yin. That way you can maintain all the things that you're doing in the gym. You can go hard, you can go fast, you can build all the muscle you want, because you're able to switch into that yin state of consciousness, that yin state of being, where healing happens. And your body will do a lot of the work for you. So the yin and yang of performance, it shows up quite a bit in the body. And there's a lot of things that you can do to influence it, right? You can do some breath work. You can meditate. You can do some active movement, right? Like Tai Chi, Qigong. Just do some, animal flow. You can get out and just change, whatever it is you're doing for your workout. One of my teachers, Mark Chang, shout out to Dr. Mark Chang. One thing that I love that he says all the time is that a change in activity is a form of rest. So if all you're doing for your body is hit the gym and go hard, well, change it up a little bit. Go do something else. That in and of itself can be recovery. So, something to think about. I hope this was helpful. Hope this was beneficial. Hope it got your wheels turning a little bit. So think about your yin, your yang, your go mode versus your recovery mode. How much time are you spending in either one or both? How flexible are you between your two states? Right? How much time are you spending in the yang aspect of your day? The outgoing, the, expansiveness, all the outside things, the expressiveness outwardly, versus how much time are you calling your energy back into your body, back into your soul? All that introspective, all that shadow work. How much of that are you doing? How connected are you to this? Pointing to my heart for those of you who are not watching on YouTube. Right? If all you're doing is sending your attention outward, and all your attention is going to something like this, your phone, your computer, the TV, the games, like whatever it is, if all of your attention is always just going outward, it's time to call your energy back. Reclaim it, recover your attention, recover your mind, get it all aligned, yin and yang and performance. Pretty cool. So if this was helpful, if you got something out of this, let me know in some way. Make a comment, email me, get on my email list. You know how to do it. The links are down in the show notes. Also down in the show notes, what I've included is a really quick acupressure breathwork exercise that I love that really helps people shift out of that stuck, fight or flight stress response and switch back into like a more grounded yin state. It's a really great exercise. I put it in the show notes for you. If you want it, it's a quick free video. Go download it and practice it. It just takes a few minutes. Start practicing. Get better at your flexibility between your yang and your yin. I'm willing to bet you're going to start noticing a difference in how your body feels and the quality of your performance and the quality of your sleep and the quality of your relationships and all the things. So there you go. Anyway, you guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.